So we knew our goal in 3 years, then where do we need to be in 1 year? And then where do we need to be in 90 days? And what we figured out was, well, if we really want to gain traction, if we want to really start this business moving, people respond to you if you have experience, right? And so how do you get experience if you're always penny pinching and trying to, squeeze every dime out of a deal?
This is the Multifamily Journey Podcast, show 20.
You're listening to the Multifamily Journey Podcast. In this show, you'll hear industry experts share tips of success and failure from their real estate investing journeys. You'll get a transparent look behind the curtain while you learn to fulfill the lifestyle you want to live and achieve your wealth goals. Get ready for the journey to financial freedom through investing in multifamily real estate. Here's your host, Blake Dailey.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Multifamily Journey Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Dailey. Today's a show that opens doors in your mind and what you can set out to accomplish. I think it's a timely show because it's exactly what I'm doing right now in my recent deal. And this is an advertisement for that because it's done, just pending closing. But I mean my strategy for it. It's a deal that I didn't find myself, but I found through a strategic partnership, like my guest today talks about. And my role became to bring in capital to close it, and then ongoing investor relations and reporting. And that gave me and the partners who found it clear roles. And when you break it out to a higher level, multifamily syndication can really be broken out to a few different areas. One, the acquisition, and then the management, the capital raising, and then you got like the back end stuff. And each one is really its own specialty. And you don't often see anyone that does that all. And if you do, maybe it's a group where there's multiple people within the group that all have their separate roles. It's like an onion. There's layers to it. And on today's show, I talked with Ashton Levarek. I think I'm producing that right, of Valkere Investment Group. And we talked about he and his brother have built up a business. How have they built up their business, and they've seen a high level of growth by focusing on their strength within multifamily. And their strength is bringing capital to the table. And Ashton is 21 years strong in the Air Force and has done all kinds of crazy things like jumping out of airplanes and getting into gunfights. So he knows how to keep it cool under pressure. Now his company's niche is really cool because they specialize in vetting deals and vetting their partners and bringing large amounts of capital to the table. They've been really, really successful at it in the last couple of years. So, and also in here, his talk of the fund of funds model is really insightful because it shows another way you can get started in multifamily. It's not always going and finding the best deal and doing everything yourself. So I think you guys are really going to like this and find some value out of it. And really, it's exactly what I'm doing right now in my deal, like I mentioned. So I can vouch for it's a good strategy, and it's one that's easy to snowball into further success. And also as an update, I walked the 8-unit potential BRRRR and B property yesterday. So that's a BRRRR, or buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. But instead on the rent step, you rent it as a short-term rental. So I'm going to make all 8 units Airbnb units. So I walked that again, this time with a couple contractors so that they could get the information and the measurements they needed to produce a bid. And after talking with them, it confirmed my appraisal that it's going to be a big rehab. Based on reading between the lines, I think it's still a possibility to get it done with my budget. We may have to adjust some things here and there, or, maybe have to ask the seller for a credit, but that is something I only do in a last resort because it's either ask for that credit or price reduction or the deal falls through. And normally I hate retrading and retraders, but this property is currently being operated as a motel, which are not doing good right now at all, and a slum motel at that. So it's in need of a large amount of rehab. There are code violations everywhere. So the seller, I don't think, really has a lot of options here other than continue to collect cash from terrible tenants with code violation people until they come and get them. But I don't know, maybe we can avoid that together. Time will tell. That's enough about my little update. In the meantime, if you guys like the show, please show it some love. If you haven't yet, and if you are debating what it takes to get started in multifamily, head over to multifamilyjourney.com where you can download my free getting started checklist. On there are the exact things I did to get started. Going through all that helped me a lot, and I think it can help you too. Otherwise, I just want to spend my time doing it. So that's at multifamilyjourney.com. It's on the homepage. You can just click on get started right there. You can scroll down to the actual checklist itself. So wanted to make it super easy to get to because I think the information in there is really good, but maybe I'm biased. I don't know. Anyway, with that, let's get into the show. All right, Ashton, welcome to the Multifamily Journey Podcast, take 2. It's good to have you.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, we tried recording a minute ago and it skipped out on us. So we switched to hotspot and we're back again. So where are you coming today from for everybody listening?
So I'm currently overseas, still in the military in Afghanistan, but running my business from over here. Thank God for technology, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. I had a guy on a couple weeks ago now, John Plupstead, who's like completely virtual with his business. Super cool. He's doing wholesaling, done like 50 deals this year. But yeah, technology is awesome. And now with that, like the Multifamily Journey Podcast is spanning the globe now, reaching the Afghan audience. But yeah, man, well, give us a little bit about your background and how you got started on your real estate journey.
So I am 21 years in the military. I did 6 years in the Coast Guard, and then the rest of it was in the Air Force as a pararescue jumper. But around 2018, I was getting close to being eligible to retire, and I was looking for other options, what I was going to do. And my brother and I started talking about real estate, and he'd been looking into it for a while, but I'd heard about it a couple of years prior to that. I just never took any action on it, like bigger pockets and creating cash flow through rentals and stuff like that. And when he brought it back up, it just kind of clicked, and we said, well, why don't we try this small multifamily? And so we got a 4-unit under contract, and we were off to the races, learning and investing at the same time. Looking back, I mean, we did a lot of things wrong, but that's how you learn. And words don't teach, action teach, experiences teach. So, yeah, I think, and that was what really got us going, is like, learning from those mistakes, because you can read all the books in the world, but you're not going to ever perfect it. So
yeah, I think that's so good. And I'm the same way. Like, I'd rather learn by doing, right. I mean, of course there's like a baseline you have to know. And that's like where, just like you getting the information from bigger pockets or reading a little bit, but it ultimately comes down to that action. And you said you started out with smaller units, small multifamily. I know you're in larger multifamily now, but how did those early smaller deals prepare you to grow and scale into the bigger ones?
Yeah, that's actually an awesome question, because I think we lucked out, or we, luck. There's no such thing as luck. It's right. It's when preparation and timing meet. I can't remember, but
when preparation meets opportunity.
There it is. When preparation meets opportunity, that's exactly what happened. So, we wanted to get in this real estate. My brother and I are both really headstrong. We're very competitive. I basically said, all right, well, let's get something done in 90 days. And we took, we had a goal to get something under contract in 90 days. We started making terrible offers on terrible pieces of property. And, luckily none of them took, because they were, looking back. But anyway, so we partnered with somebody to bring the capital. We, joint ventured on that first one. He brought 70% of the value, and then we got the rest. We underestimated like the cost of renovations. We did a bunch of stuff wrong, but we did a bunch of stuff right. We partnered, so we had a bunch of extra capital on the side. We brought multiple contractors in to look at the place and give us a quote. When they gave us a quote, we were like, you got to be kidding. That was way higher than what we thought. But we were prepared on the capital side, and we just kept reaching out to people with more experience. And that's what I think really saved us, is working with people with a lot more experience than us. So we found a really good property manager, and he helped us find a good contractor. And then it just kept snowballing. Our network was growing, and our opportunities and ability kept growing. And so that was fall of 2018. And then we just closed. That was a 4-unit. We kept doing, and we were burring. We were doing the burr method. So buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat for each of these ones. So we did a 4-unit, a duplex, I think another duplex, and then a 5-unit. Then we did a 13, a 16, and then we did 84 and then 120. And that 120 was November. We just closed on that one. So really leveraging other people's skills, other people's capital, working with other people to create these deals. So
yeah,
learned a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to get into that part for sure, but backing up a little bit, like it all started with making the decision and then taking action. And you're saying there in that you made that 90-day challenge. Hey, in 90 days, we're going to have a property. I love that. I did the same thing earlier this year and then wound up with like more under contract than I intended to, but it's just like through those actions, you commit to them.
Yeah.
And it's making offers. And I don't like necessarily recommend people just go and putting in offers. Like you were saying, like in hindsight, it's probably good, but if you're going through the steps, making offers, and worst case, you just make a lower offer. And if it sticks, like the equity in that deal, because you got a lower offer accepted, will give you options. So I think that's really important. And then can you touch on the contracting side of things, like the contractor bids? This is something I do, like I do contracting for the Air Force. So something I find interesting. But you say you started out and those bids all came higher, and I've went through enough proposals now, probably hundreds or thousands of them. And they always like seem to amaze you with how much higher they are than for us on the contracting side, like than the government estimate, or, you do your rehab budget, and they always come in higher. So what are some things or some lessons you've learned there to work with contractors and get things done on schedule? Because, you've done quite a few deals now and went through the value add process. So what are some lessons you could share there?
Yeah, I think starting with referrals is a good idea, and then getting multiple bids. So that's what really saved us. I think what David Green says, rock stars know rock stars. So if you're looking for somebody to do work for you, find somebody that is already excelling in that space, or, because what we did was, I had, 6 contractors come out and walk the property. 2 didn't show up. And then I reached out to the property manager that we had connected with on Bigger Pockets. And he was experienced. He had 25 years in the Raleigh-Durham area. He knew the area, knew a lot of people. And so those contractors came through and gave us a bunch of bids. And I thought they were, we had estimated like 25,000, I think, for all 4 units. And they came back with, 20,000 per unit. So that was way higher than what we thought. And we thought we were getting cheated. They're like, wait a minute, these guys got to be trying to hustle us or something. But when we talked to the experienced property manager, he's the one who's like, well, let me get a friend of mine to come do it and take a look. And it was the same thing. And he's like, yeah, we can do it for around 70,000 total for rehab. And I think it really starts with that, like reach out to people that know that area, know that network, or know that what they're doing. And then they're going to point you in the right direction, either directly, or they're going to find people that know what to do. So that's what saved us, honestly, was creating those relationships with people that were in the business already. Because again, like we were brand new. This was the first 3 months of real estate investing. We'd never done anything like this before. Yeah. I've never invested in real estate. I've never even rehabbed a home on my own. Like I've hung a TV.
Put some screws in the wall. Yeah, I think that's good. That's a really good point. Like what you're saying, like rock stars know rock stars, and it all comes through networking, right? You got to meet the people who know the people who are going to be able to help you in your business. And oftentimes like the contractors will come in and overbid, try to get an inexperienced person. Like I feel like they're like sharks. They can smell blood. Like if they know that you don't know what you're doing, they're going to give you the higher bid and try to take advantage. Like I see that all the time with the government. They know that they're contracting to the government. So the bid gets like that spread. And we dig through that, and we have different ways of handling it on the government side. But a good way in real estate is just like you're saying, like call the, other investors who, me and sometimes they want to keep their contractors close to the vest, but those property managers, people who are also going to have buy-in on your investment because they're making a percentage of what this property is going to bring in, are great referrals for where you can find contractors. So that was really good. And then from there, you were saying it really relied, or it came down to the partners you were able to make and the network. So how do you go about finding people? Like if you're, brand new to real estate, this is your first 3 months, how do you go to somebody and say, hey, let's just do a real estate deal together?
Yeah, that's a cool question. And that's something that I'm actually writing an ebook on because partnerships have been so crucial to our business. So we get that question all the time. How do you pick a partner? My brother and I, we lucked out because we complement each other as far as the business side of everything. I really thought we were very similar growing up, but turns out we're complete opposites as when it comes to managing and running the business. But yeah, so how do you pick, a trustworthy partner that's going to come through, that's going to perform, day in and day out without you having to double check him all the time or worrying about him taking all that, whatever, cheating you out of a deal or something. So kind of what we settled on is, I think there's 4 things that are key here. So the first one is being clear about your vision. Where do you want to end up? Where are you trying to get to? And I think a lot of people don't put much thought into that. They're like, yeah, I want financial freedom. Well, what does that look like? Right? What exactly does that look like for you? Like in 3 years, if you were financially free in 3 years, what would that look like? Like how much time are you spending on the business? How much money are you making? How much money do you need to make to support that vision? Right. And as you look at your
vision, you guys
vision,
write out your vivid vision.
Absolutely.
I just read the book and got through it. It was powerful. Like picturing every part of your life where you want to be in 3 years. I would definitely recommend that book.
Yeah, we did it for our family and for our business.
Yep. I combined it all, like where I wanted to see me and Nicole at, like our fitness, friends, like all of that net worth. I mean, it all was together because it's one life. So, I mean, all those goals together.
Yeah. And I think what's really cool is, so I also read, I absorb books like nobody has been, like I'm reading all the time and then rereading them. But another great book for that was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yep.
And in that, he talks about breaking down every role that you have and what's your vision for that role. So
that was the board I just held up that I showed you.
Yeah.
It was all those roles.
Yeah. Like what's your vision as a father? Like, how do you want to be as a father? And then what is your vision as a husband? And then as a business owner and then capital raiser and so on and so forth. But being absolutely clear about that is key going into any venture. But then as you do that, you'll realize what you value. And guys like us that come from the military, it's beaten to our head, these are your values. This is the military values, and you'll recite these and regurgitate them ad nauseum. But when you start developing your own vision, that's when you get to find out your true values. So like, I value free time so I can take my kids on adventures. Like when I was younger, it was all about me going on adventure, traveling the world, jumping out of planes, shooting guns, going to war. That's what I wanted to do. And then as I had kids, I realized I can't continue to do that and take up all that time and not spend time with my family. So time with my family became valuable to me. So those are the first 2. Like you need to be clear about your vision. You need to be clear about your values. And then next, that's when you can decide your strategy. So if you're looking for a hobby, like maybe flipping homes is something you want to do. You want to have a hobby that makes you money and you get to be creative. That's flipping homes. But if you're looking for passive income, you're probably looking for buy and hold. And then you get to narrow down what kind of strategy, right? These are all, there's 101 strategies in real estate, as you know. But for us, it was all about passive income to create more time and pay less taxes legally. So we picked multifamily properties because we like the passive income. We like less risk, the economies of scale, like all that stuff was for us. And then lastly, you got to figure out what you bring to the table. Do you bring capital? Do you bring hustle? Do you have, the knowledge to underwrite and analyze properties, to dig deep into properties, or maybe you just know how to rehab them. Maybe. Those are the 4 things. So your vision, your values, strategy, and your, and what you bring to the table. And once you know that, then it's easy to see if somebody's aligned with you and going in the same direction, right? Because you're not going to want to partner with somebody that, all they care about is making money, because then they're going to hustle you out of a deal. They're going to take advantage of you when you're not looking or something like that. And then if there's 2 people that are really good at raising money, then nobody's good at managing the asset, then that's not going to do anything for your investment either. So those are the 4 things we really look for.
Yeah, that's super good. I think I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to that. And I think everybody should, like that last minute or 2, because your vision, your values, your strategy, and then the skills you have to implement that are so important. And then you match that with somebody who fills in where you're weak, but has the same values, right? Has that same kind of shared vision so that you guys grow together, which you and your brother have created really complementary skill sets. So that stuff is super important. So once you guys establish that between the two of you, you're starting to see progress, starting to see, the passive income grow. How do you guys make that transition? Because I think you have a little bit of a unique approach in that kind of like strategic partnership area where you guys have been able to scale and get to bigger partners or into bigger deals because of how you have selected your partners really smartly. So can you break out how you guys have been able to grow like by taking on those partnerships? And I think what we were talking about was like, it was like unit count first. Like we needed to gain credibility and get those partnerships to get the ball rolling so that we can then, compound that success.
Yeah. So, and we're talking about the book, Vivid Vision. We're talking about 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Traction's another great book, but in all of them, you're looking into the future. And for us, we did a 3-year plan. We said where we want to be in 3 years, how much income we wanted to make. And then what does that equate to units? Like how many units would that be cash flowing at, whatever, to get us to our number, right? So then you work back from there. So we knew our goal in 3 years, then where do we need to be in 1 year? And then where do we need to be in 90 days? And what we figured out was, well, if we really want to gain traction, if we want to really start this business moving, people respond to you if you have experience, right? And so how do you get experience if you're always penny pinching and trying to, squeeze every dime out of a deal? So what we looked for first was, well, let's get our deal count up. Let's get our deal count, our unit count up, because that's what brokers look at. That's what other investors look at. That's what partners look at. Like, what's your experience level? So that's what we focused on. We said, well, in this first year, and when we did this was 2019 that we came up with this. We decided that that's all we're going to focus on. Bless you.
Sneeze there.
But yeah, that's what we were going to focus on. We were going to focus on getting our unit count up. So we started building our brand and building our marketing scheme. So, and that's really crucial to people that are starting out. Like if you're really trying to get that credibility so that brokers bring you deals, that people want to invest in your deals. Like if you don't have a brand, if you're not really, out there and people can't know you, like you, and trust you, then they're not going to work with you. And so that's what we did.
100%. Yeah. I talked about this last week on a podcast. And I forget who it was telling me. It was like, yeah, we were just getting into multifamily. And I called up this broker and I said, hey, I'm a multifamily investor. And he goes, let me stop you right there. You know how many of these calls I get a week? Like, go do something and call me back. So I think that speaks right here to what you're saying. Like there's brokers, there's lenders, there's professionals in this field who won't necessarily take you seriously. Unless you have some of that experience. And you can, right. I think there's 2 approaches to it too. You can just grow, organically, not raise any money and just kind of like turn a 4 unit into an 8 unit into maybe, 16 and then, keep doubling or maybe not quite doubling and just work up like that. But like you're saying, you had this vivid vision, you knew where you wanted to be. You started with the end in mind and then reverse engineered it to get here and say, okay, we need to grow faster. And that's where the partnerships come in handy. And this is funny because I was at this meetup and I've done the same thing, kind of a similar approach with taking on partnerships. And I was at this local meetup. It's this like early morning breakfast with these like old school investors. They're all like in their, 50s plus, and most of them are like 60s, 70s. And I was telling them about this deal I have under contract, 66 unit. And they're like, oh, that's impressive. Young guy having that. And I said, yeah, me and my partners are pretty excited about it. And one guy just puts his head down. He said, partners? You never use partners. So he just like grinded it out for these, 50 years or whatever and didn't take partners. But, his business kind of, his real estate, he manages everything himself, kind of has his life set up around his business. And I think that strategic approach, taking on partners and like looking what your life wants to be like, you structure the opposite, like you set up your business to fit into your lifestyle and not the other way around. So I think that's really good.
Yeah. And like, I'll touch on 3 things. I think there's 3 ways that people really get into multifamily. and get good at it. And the first one is what you're saying is what that guy did, is like, you're doing it by yourself. You do a 2 unit, a 4 unit, a 12 unit, whatever. You just keep, multiplying, going bigger and bigger. And that takes a lot longer.
But
it
takes a lot.
It just depends what you want. Right. But for us, we wanted to grow faster. And the two other ways that I've seen people do that is through paid mentorship, which nothing ever clicked for us. We could never, we went to a couple seminars, saw some of these mentorships, and it just didn't work for us. It wasn't what we were looking for. There's a lot of regulations. It was really, the cost to get in was pretty high. And we felt we could spend our money better elsewhere. And then the last one was partnering. Right. And so that's really where we focused. And honestly, with 20 years in the military, on teams and leading teams, it made sense to me. Build a team and you can get more done.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm the same way, that just kind of that innate leadership, just like go out and make it happen. That's good. So now that you guys, like, that's the direction you're going, seeing pretty significant growth in these last 2 years since you guys just dove right in. How are you structuring these partnerships now?
There is no better asset class for building wealth than real estate. And in most instances, people don't have the time or energy to invest in it on their own. So how do you build wealth with real estate when you lack the time and energy? Leave that to the GrowthView Properties. The GrowthView team finds, negotiates, and manages multifamily assets for private investors. Their mission is to help investors secure the ultimate asset, which is time, all the while impacting the greater good with their endowment fund that fuels the mission of charitable organizations. Find out more by going to thegrowthview.com. That's view with a VUE.com. Put your money to work so you don't have to at thegrowthview.com.
Yeah, so that's the cool part, right? So the more you bring to the table, the more you can leverage, the more you're worth to the deal, right? So if you are a new, when we were trying to build our account, we said, hey, we can raise this much, that we obligated to raise $2 million to bring to 2 different deals. And then we were going to help with due diligence. And then we were going to do a lot of the investor relations, because that's where we shone, that's what we were good at that point. Right. And because we did so good on that, then I can turn around and say, hey, these are the deals we've done. And now that means I want these kind of returns on the next deals we do with you, or whoever. Right. So it gives you a place at the table to really leverage your piece, to really negotiate your value on the team. Right.
Yeah. So not only do you build experience and credibility with brokers to get more deals, stuff like that, but also with these partners, other multifamily operators to come together to where you now have, more sway there too. I like that.
And that's the thing with apartment syndications is the teams are usually pretty big. There's quite a few people that are getting involved. Yeah. Never mind the limited partners. There's quite a few people that make the deal happen. And, if you can show your value to that team, or you're building the team itself, you get to really leverage and negotiate your returns at that point. You get to pick your returns, So, and that's what we did. I mean, we started out with smaller returns in the first 3 deals, and we did that just to get our count up, right? And then we got up to 246.
I think that speaks a lot too. I don't want to just gloss over that, because I think that, takes it's like swallowing your ego, right? Or just not being too prideful to get in the way of your own success. What you just said right there is, we took a little lower returns, but the investors still made good returns. And look at where right now we're able to get to a better place. We have a chance for more returns and more deals because we sacrificed a little bit up front. And I think that's what holds up a lot of people, even with partnerships, just anything in general. It's maybe not greed necessarily. Maybe it roots in greed, but it's there's no foresight to the future. It's like thinking about right now rather than thinking long-term, the results of that. That's a really good point you made.
Yeah. If you want to look at it, we're building the engine of our business. This is, this, or the snowball effect. This can only go faster and get bigger because of all the effort we put into our brand, our credibility. And then of course, our network, because that's what we've been doing is building up our network, building up network of investors. And honestly, when we started to do this, I can't tell you how many times people have reached out to us now and asked to partner with us. So yeah, I think it's crucial. I think if you are starting out, start looking in your inner circle, then, a little bit further out, and just start seeing who you can work with, who complements your strategy, who complements your vision, your values, all that stuff. So
yeah, I think that's good. Like if you start out looking where you can create value, like down the road, like you kind of hold the value, and then it's a lot more options. That's really good. So, I mean, now that you guys have evolved a little bit and got some like a trail of progress behind you, are you now looking to raise more money? Or are you guys looking for deals? Like, what's the current business like? Is it looking for those places where you can bring money to other deals? Or are you guys now sourcing more of your own?
We're looking to raise money for other deals. I mean, we have a couple people that we're working directly with. They're bringing the deals. They're doing the underwriting. We like their process, and our investors like their returns that they're, working with. So it makes sense. And so right now we're really just focused on raising the capital. Now, that's not to say that, in the next, 2, 10, 20 months, whatever, we're not going to take down a deal on our own. But just right now, that's not where we're at, because we're not focused on the asset management side right now. We're focused on the acquisition through the capital raising. Right. So, we're really what we're doing. And if you want to look at it like that, what we're doing is we are helping pair people with investors with a good deal. So we're helping people create passive income and tax-free wealth. That's all we're doing.
I really like that too, because it's like, it's not all encompassing. You don't have to worry about the property management and the asset management. And there's so many different areas of responsibility when you do one of these big multifamily deals, but allows you and your brother to really focus in on a niche of that, dominate it, and grow a lot more because of it. And I think that goes back to the scalability and that just allows you to get there faster. And it's like focusing on that core competency. And this was like really kind of like a not foreign, but just a far off subject for me before. I don't know, really the last couple months. I thought like you can just raise capital for deals. Like you recommended that book, Raising Money for Real Estate by Hunter Thompson. I read that and like had this vague like idea in my head, and it just made it so much more clear. I was like, oh man, like you know how to underwrite deals, you know how to analyze opportunities in the market and everything. And that's what you do when you find these things. But it's like this other group puts all the time, energy, effort, money into sourcing the deals, broker relations, all that stuff. And then you guys vet all that and just build this network of raising money. And if you already have a strong network, I mean, you're already ahead, right? Because then it's doing the due diligence of finding the right people in the game. So that's really good. I like that.
Yeah. And you got to understand too, like we're not just doing this for anybody. We vetted the people we're working with, right?
Yeah.
We like their track record. We like the type of deals they're working on. We like, the type of returns they're structuring their deals around. And they don't have the time to do a lot of the stuff that we're doing because we're developing this investment platform while they're developing.
It's two like opposite ends of the same node, Yeah. And that's what I love about episodes like this is every journey is different. And before listening to something like this, people might not know like the options that they have. Like they might just think I have to go find the best deals in the world, or I can't get multifamily. Yeah. But this realm is different. Like that's almost true in residential. Like if you find a good deal, I mean, you can probably pretty easily find like $150,000 or whatever it is to get it done. When you're talking about millions and millions of dollars, like raising capital becomes so important. So if you can really build a business around fostering your network and educating investors and providing really good returns to help people with their retirement or lifestyle, like that's immensely valuable in this space. I love that because it's kind of like it just opens people's minds. It opened my mind when I started digging in more to it. And now that's kind of like become my progression on this deal as I'm bringing money and investor relations and compliance and stuff like that. So, and I'm hoping it does the same to you and compounds and snowballs. So really good.
And I'll tell you something else too. Like if people are looking to break into the space, that's probably the fastest way to add value to a team, because you don't have to know anything about real estate, but if you have a great network with a good amount of, liquid capital that they're trying to put to work, you can easily come in. I mean, we've talked about this before. You create a fund and then it comes in as an LP, and you come in as a GP or even as an LP yourself. And then you get to learn and get to learn the whole system, learn the ropes and everything. Obviously you want to
explain real quick, explain that a little bit more, like this fund to fund concept, because when I've like discovered this term, I was like, it was like a light bulb over my head.
Yeah. I can't remember how we came into it. It might've been Hunter Thompson's book as well. But basically, I know a lot of people have misconceptions about funds because you have REITs and you have GoFundMe and you have all these different ways to do it. But really, and again, I'm not a syndication attorney. I'm not a CPA. I'm not giving legal advice. This is just stuff we've learned. So a fund is pretty fluid. Like you can structure it however you want. You can use that fund for multiple deals. You can use that fund for one deal. You can be as specific as you want. Like we only invest in multifamily properties that are B or C class, that are 100 plus units, that have value add opportunity. Like you can go down that whole list and you can do it just like a syndication. But the difference is I can take that fund and I can use it for multiple syndications. Now, that's a talk you're going to have with your network or with your investors, because if you raise all the capital ahead of time before having a deal, then, and you're promising returns, then you're probably going to have to pay those returns before they're available from the deal getting done, right? So how we structured it was we had our fund close, right before closing of the property. So that we were able to, we closed the funds, closed the fund, wired the funds in that fund to the escrow account. And that's how it started. It's just very fluid. But if you're interested in raising capital and starting a fund, that fund comes in as a limited partner. So now that whole fund is a limited partner in 2 of our deals. And we're general partners. So we're not making any money off the fund itself. I know some people have a funding fee. So
that's what I was going to ask. Yeah. Ask next. Got my tongue there. What me and you were talking about is you can either like take a spread of the fund, say like the manager of the fund percentage is like 2% or something. Yep. And if the fund makes 17, the manager takes 2%, then the investors make the 15%, the difference there. Yeah. Or like what you guys did, the investors make the full 17, and then you come in on the GP side and you're not reducing their returns there. Is that a good understanding of it?
Yeah, that's 2 ways to do it. I think there's many other ways. What I'd recommend is talk to a syndication attorney and figure out which one would be best for you. Yeah. And then the other thing to note is, with apartment syndications, there's actually 3 offerings, but most people don't know about I think it's a 405. Most people are familiar with the 506B and a 506C. So the fund offering has to manage or match the syndication offering. So if you're doing a 506C, you can't raise capital in a 506B fund. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically 506B is friends and family. It's in you have an existing relationship with that person. And then you can take up to, I think, 30 or 35 accredited investors. Whereas, and you cannot advertise. You can't advertise.
35 non-accredited. Then the way I like to remember is like 506B, B's for buddy. So that's like your family and friend.
Yeah. And then the 506C is you are allowed to advertise, but the catch there is everybody has to be accredited.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really just make sure you talk to an attorney before you try to start advertising anything like this. Just make sure you have all your ducks in a row. Yeah. But it is a great way to break into it.
Me towards Gene Trowbridge. Like he has him and his partner, I think, in the Trowbridge Law Group or whatever it is, have like time on their calendar where you can do like a 30-minute kind of, consultation or whatever. So this isn't something that is going to take money out of your pocket. So you can kind of rest easy knowing that there's resources out there for you that if you're interested in this stuff, which this stuff like excites me, like how to put deals together and then get them funded.
Yeah.
Like they give their time, and these people are making like $1,000 an hour, giving you 30.
And here's the thing that I found really interesting when I started looking at this. Like, well, okay, how are we going to raise $2 million in, what was it, 60 days at that time? Well, when you start to look at how many people, I think it's like 80% of America own, I don't know, 80% of their home. So that's capital that's sitting in your home, not making you money, right? Then there's how many 401ks and how many Roth IRAs. And I apologize if my numbers are off, but the point is there's a lot of capital out there that's not being put to work. And when you understand that the velocity to capital and how fast that helps you grow your wealth, grow your income, grow your nest egg, if that's what you're trying to do, because you can do self-directed IRAs and invest in syndications. You can do EQRPs, I believe, with the 401k. Like, I'm not an expert on that stuff, but there's so many ways, like whole life insurance. We have a bunch of people that use whole life insurance that have invested in our deals.
Yeah.
But the idea is to have multiple pots of income, multiple pots growing.
Yeah. I think the important thing there is there's just so much money out there in different ways. And like, you never know until you just talk to people like, hey, I'm investing in real estate, like something you're interested in. Like, oh, you got money in a retirement account. Well, here's this fun fact. Did you know this? You can roll that over into self-directed through what are they called? A mediary or whatever it is. I'm not an expert either, but then roll that into to get it into real estate. And it's super easy. And it's just
and like that has become so big now that a lot of our marketing has been around educating other people, potential investors, right? So on our website now, we even have a link that takes people, if they have a Roth IRA and they want to invest with it, we have a link they can click on. It takes them directly to a mediary so they can set something like that up if that's what they're interested in.
Mediary, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. And then like, home equity lines of credit. That's how my brother and I started. That's how we covered the cost of the rehab that we had, we had misjudged.
That's good stuff. It's abundant and it's not easy, but if you put in the work and educate people and have the conversations, build your network, it's absolutely achievable. Yeah, that's good stuff. So Ashton, if all of that was kind of phase one, growing and starting with that fund of funds model, what does phase two and expanding look like for you guys?
So phase two, I like that. We haven't termed it that yet. Phase two. So year two is what we've been calling it. But yeah, phase two is we've renegotiated how much value we bring and then our returns in each deal. So we've laid out criteria like, hey, we are not going to partner on a deal unless we're seeing these kind of returns. So while our number count is up right now, our returns aren't where we want them to be on those deals. But again, that was our goal, right? To get our number count, build the brand, build the credibility. So now we have that criteria and that's what we're moving forward with. So when somebody brings us a deal, we know exactly if this deal matches what we want, right? That's what I'm saying. Like you need to be absolutely clear what you want to get out of this and out of the strategy. So yeah, like what kind of returns are going to make it a good deal for us and our investors, right? Because if you look a lot of apartment syndicators, guys do start out doing that. They'll do like a 95 5% split, and they're only getting 5%, even though they put the whole deal together, and they're probably not seeing any cash flow until year 2 or 3, if that, So
guys, gotta have some grit,
Yeah. And that's how guys are getting started.
But I would also like caution those people too, right? Like on that same note, if you're a passive investor, and before I say this, you haven't done a 95-5 split, right? Okay. I was going to say, like, if your operator's only making 5%, they're only compensated off of 5% of the deal. I mean, as a passive investor, do you reasonably think that they're going to be super financially motivated to make sure that deal works, especially if they get another better deal because of that? Now they're making, 70-30 split over here. So I think those slim deals are what bad operators do to make deals work. And this is just, Blake talking. And I think that speaks to what you and your brother are doing. Like if the returns out there, we're not going to invest in it. At this point, we have what we need. We have investors that we're accountable to. And I'm kind of that same way. Like if we're not, the investors aren't going to make money and I can't make enough money to, make it worth that, then it's just, I don't know. I've seen a lot of slide deals get across the finish line.
Yeah. And then, I mean, that's where the learning happens, but, cause they'll probably not do that very much longer,
my thinking is like, if we are going into that, if we're like the Wile E. Coyote that just ran off the cliff, but we don't know we're about to fall yet. And that happens in the market. Like those people are going to be the first ones to be out. And then, all these multifamily investors or, that did really slim deals and can't cover their debt service in the coming time period, might create some inventory for hopefully guys like me and you. So,
yeah. I mean, I like, was it Joe Fairless? His 3 rules for investing: always buy for cash flow. If it doesn't cash flow, don't buy it. Always have cash reserves and always get long-term low interest rate financing. And so the one thing that I've seen people make a mistake on is, yes, it'll cash flow, but it'll be very slim. And then the next is they don't have enough cash reserves. And right now, like this year was probably a huge indicator for this, is like people that are, missing out on rents because of the moratorium. They have the cash to cover that, right? And then lastly, long-term low interest rate financing. All these people are offering bridge loans, and what happens? Yeah, what happens when you can't refinance out of that bridge loan because the market's crashing or because you're not hitting the returns you want? So those are things to, you can't be so set on doing a deal that you end up doing bad deals. And that goes on both sides, right? So as a limited partner, you should also know the ins and outs of most of the deal and really understand the biggest risk.
Yeah, that's when I think you dig into the operator's underwriting and see their cash reserves, what extra capital they're bringing in to cover that stuff. Maybe they're bringing it, whatever it is. And then definitely the debt structure too, because these deals that have a year or two interest only to keep, cash flowing through that whole period. Well, if something goes wrong, they can't collect rent, they can't refinance, then you gotta, the principal comes down and now you're not cash flowing. And then you have a short-term loan which is probably going to be a higher interest rate with now no cash flow and you got no reserves. It's just not good. Yeah. All of those three very simple and very powerful rules. So if you stick to those: cash flow, cash reserves, and long-term low interest rate debt, you'll definitely be fine. I mean, multifamily is one of those asset classes where you can weather the storm because of cash flows and because, especially if you're in, like the B2C class where that's where people are going to live kind of no matter what. I think you'll be all right. So that's good. I think it's a good little pivot point. Like, how are you guys structuring your deals and how, if at all, has that progressed?
So what we do is we keep it straight and simple. We don't do any waterfall structures. We don't do any, equity splits. We do a basic 12% preferred return. So what that means is, we don't get paid until the investors get paid, until they make their 12%, right? So I think that keeping it simple that way, people understand it easier. It makes sense to them. It's predictable because they know for sure how much they're going to get. And then, you also know that, like, you can look at the deal and, like, if it is not going to make more than enough for us, right, we're not going to do it. And then on the flip side, as an LP looking at it, if it, unless it loses so much money per year, it won't even affect the investors, right? So, because let's say the IRR is like 18%, so that's 6% for us, right? But they would have to lose more than 6% a year for it to affect their 12% preferred return. So that's what we do. We just do a simple, straight 12% preferred return.
Yeah, I like that. It's kind of simple. I mean, have you seen people kind of respond to that and say, "Oh yeah, that's simple. You don't have to go through all these return metrics"? I think a lot of times, like if you've read Pitch Anything, like people's alligator brain, like their emotional response, when they start to hear numbers and stuff, they just like kind of back up. And if they don't understand it, they just, they'll say no.
Yeah. And I have a huge alligator brain and I hate numbers. And so when I look at those numbers, I'm like, oh my God, now I got to know this in and out. Because I mean, when we start first learning about this, like a lot of guys will, oh yeah, we can make more with a waterfall structure and an equity split that does this in year 2. And then year 3, it does this. And the splits just change according to the returns, because in the first year, you're rehabbing the place. So you're not making great cash flow, right? Because you're turning units.
Yeah.
But then once
into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So then maybe year 1.5 or 2 years in, you start really seeing that cash flow. Maybe year 3, you refinance. So what they're doing is, as the cash flow increases, they're changing the splits so that they make more money as it goes along, which, because it does get down to those, if this, then this happens, if this, you make that. And I think that's confusing. And, what's that saying? Like, a confused mind says no. Yep. If it doesn't make sense to me, I don't think it's going to make sense to a lot of people either. I mean, there are professional investors out there that do this for a living, and maybe that's the kind of stuff they look for. But for us, we just like to keep it simple, straightforward. people know what they're getting. There's no confusion.
Yeah, I like it. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So, before we transition here to the last segment of the show, what are some things that you and your brother are targeting for 2021? Any more of the same? I know scaling up, but anything specifically?
Yeah. So we're focused on doing at least one deal a quarter this year. So we'll see how that goes. We're focused on 100 units a quarter, but as it's looking, we have a couple offers out, and right now we're looking at a 300 unit this first quarter. So
that might make quarter 1 through 3.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's looking good. I think we'll see how it goes, because again, you're working as a team. We're not trying to do anything independently. So it has to match everybody's goals, vision, all that stuff. So, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm pretty excited about it. Everybody on the team's excited about it. We're supposed to have a call. What is it? Yeah. So Friday we're having a call, and we'll see how this is going to progress. But
I like that. Yeah, that's a huge deal. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. That'd be
thanks, man. And congrats to you too. I know you're doing big things, and I love to hear it. 66. I don't know if you can talk about it.
Yeah, we still gotta get across the finish line. So I'm not counting my chickens yet, or not counting my eggs before they hatch, whatever the
right.
is. So I'll knock on wood, but yeah, it's looking pretty good. Full capital's fully raised. Underwriting looks good. The Freddie Mac actually gave us additional loan to cost value because it meets their strict underwriting for DSCR in year 1. So that was nice. Really good. So it means we had to raise less, and the returns go up just a little bit because of that, because there's less initial in. So yeah, it's looking good. I love the market. It's a good asset. So yeah, hopefully good things. I'm hoping quarter 1 is good for both of us.
Can you tell where is it? Can you talk about where it is?
It's in Greensboro. North Carolina.
Oh, nice. Okay. I've looked there. That's a good area.
Yeah. It's the only one. It's the only asset in its area, close to all the amenities. The other ones are further out, and there's no oncoming units. So it's going to be the only one for, years to come, close to where everybody wants to be. Yeah. Everybody else has to drive. The other tenants have to drive. Our tenants could literally walk 2 to 5 minutes and be where they want. So I really like it. If you get a good asset and a good market at a good price, you're doing all right. So yeah, I'm excited about it. Yeah. Fingers crossed for quarter 1 here. But with that, let's transition to the Fortune 5.
Fortune 5.
So these are the 5 questions I ask every guest, every show. So started off strong. What's the biggest thing that has contributed to your success?
Understanding those 4 things we talked about, and understanding what I bring to the table, and then putting that into play with partnerships with building a team.
Very nice. And those 4 were vision, values, strategy, and skill set, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. That's good stuff. Yeah. Understanding that is huge. That's a good one. Next question. What has been your biggest mistake so far that's turned into a learning lesson?
The biggest mistake was trying to learn to do everything, to learn every aspect of real estate investing, every aspect of multifamily, trying to do the things I hated. And I think, some people say when it feels heavy, that's when it's something you shouldn't be doing. Maybe you should outsource it or find somebody else to do it. And when I realized that was the biggest learning curve, and then getting over my ego, right? Because your ego says you can do everything, or at least mine did. It said I could do everything and I should do everything. But when you realize that other people are better at it, delegate.
Are you used to jumping out of airplanes and dropping warheads on foreheads? So if an opposite way, you probably just want to blow through it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But yeah, learning to work with other people and being humble about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. That's a good topic for this show too. For the next one, what's your favorite book you would recommend to someone starting out?
Oh man, my favorite book. That depends. Do you have a category or?
Just, yeah, this one's kind of broad, real estate, business, life, whatever it is.
I think Killing Sacred Cows is a pretty good book if you're trying to learn all the aspects of how money works and how to put it to work. I think he does a really good job, especially on the Audible version, because he has an intro for everyone talking about how he came to these realizations. Garrett Gunderson is the writer. He used to be a financial advisor. And he just goes through and he, talks about all these different myths that we have about finances that people live off of. And eventually they really stagnate their growth, or like they really hamstring themselves as far as creating wealth in their life. And that one's a good one.
I got that one on my list. I need to get to it. I got my first 5 books of the year written out. So I'm gonna have to make that one number 6.
But I think, I've read a lot of good books. I think 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is an awesome book.
For me, that one was kind of dry. I couldn't get through it.
Really?
It's more like, I don't know. Yeah. I got to go back and read it. I made it through it, but when I was reading, I was kind of like, but it was good principles. I need to go back and like do the Cliff Notes version or something, because there's good stuff in there. And like, I've definitely seen some of it apply. So I got to reread that one too. Yep. Those are 2 good books. But, Ashton, other than jumping out of airplanes, shooting guns, and doing badass stuff, what do you like to do outside of real estate? I guess all that stuff.
Yeah. No, I do love doing that stuff. But I love surfing, snowboarding, taking my kids surfing and snowboarding, hiking and biking, camping. I love all the outdoor big mountain sports, traveling. So that's kind of what we do. Every year we plan at least 2 trips.
I like that. I think we're kindred spirits there. My wife and I just sat down and wrote out our goals for the year, and it was travel more, take at least like one worldly vacation, like go outside the US, and then hit some destinations inside the US too. And just, do stuff like that, hike and bike and hopefully snowboard sometime this year. And that's fun stuff.
Yeah. We're trying to buy a vacation rental down in Costa Rica. That's the goal.
Oh man.
So we'll see.
See if you can find the 2 that are next to each other, and I'll buy it. That'd be awesome.
You got it. Yeah, man.
All right, Ashton, last question. Where can people find out more about you or connect with you?
So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. And then my company, we have our own website, valkeregroup.com, and that's spelled VALKERE group.com. But I'm always happy to chat with somebody, if they want to learn more. We have a free ebook on our website. We also run a meetup group once a month, Wealth and Whiskey Meetup. So, and we put out a lot of content because, that's it right now. You're just trying to educate and connect and work with other people. So,
bring people into this awesome multifamily world and spread around the returns and the passive income. I love it.
Well, together we win, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, Ashton, this has been an awesome show. Thanks for coming on, providing value, talking about this fund of funds and all this good stuff, man. This is a really good podcast. And I think it really speaks to kind of a different strategy within the niche that people can just be like, see awesome success in once you realize what's out there for you. So thanks for sharing all that and being transparent about the business that you and your brother have built and are building. It's awesome.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Blake. It was really fun.
All right. We're out of here.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you like the show, if you found value in it, please go to iTunes and leave a rating and review. And if you want to check out more on your multifamily journey, go to multifamilyjourney.com, where you can get free resources to start your journey and figure out your path. That's multifamilyjourney.com. But more importantly, go take action today towards your financial future. See you next time.